Hello, good evening, and many thanks for joining us on the midweek edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Now, today on the program, Obasanjo says only popular movement can rescue Nigeria, and later on, we'll discuss this with you. Governor Ortom tells Benue people to defend themselves as Senator Shehu Sani urges President Buhari to stop rampant killings of Nigerians by armed men. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade-otitoju, Adekunle Yusuf, and Ishmael Omikpidon. You're welcome. Gentlemen, I greet you all. Welcome.
I greet you.
We are ready. I hope you are. Okay, then let's go. To say that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is seminal is an understatement, but to say that he is a builder of consensus is open to debate. The former helmsman strongly suggests the formation of a popular movement to enthrone progressive leadership required to make Nigeria great. He says Nigeria has disappointed Africa in providing needed leadership in post-military era. Let's get cracking. Jide, I think we are reminded in this connection of the famous line, a good leader takes as little, a little more share of the blame as he does a little less share of the credit.
Yes.
Again, I like to start from that premise. He's been there, so he sees it all. Now he's reflecting.
Yeah.
We need a popular movement. Underline that. Popular movement.
Yes. At this time, he wants as much support as he can get for his project.
His project, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
We all know what his project is. That is building that coalition that would, in his words, lead to a new Nigeria. But that new Nigeria will see younger people take over the reins of power in our country. That is Obasanjo's project for now. And it can be really single-minded and determined in achieving his aim. So now what he wants is consensus across board. He wants overwhelming support for this movement, for this project of his. That's why he's saying that the sort of change that Nigerians want can only happen through a mass movement.
A critical mass.
Yes, that means like every one of us has to be involved. And the message is clear. He's targeting the young people. You listening to him, he's targeting the young people and saying, look, power is never freely given. You must demand for it as if it's your inheritance.
Quickly, let me ask you, is it dreaming of 2019 or beyond 2019? I'm looking at the time frame.
He's taking it one at a time. 2019 first. Whatever happens after 2019 could well be maybe an icing on the cake. But he's very much interested in who becomes the president of Nigeria in 2019.
Kuli, let's look at another thing he said. He says the first generation of leaders in the country gave us independence, regardless of what you say about them. He agrees, though, that they made mistakes. Those mistakes have not gone away.
Yes, well, I think I read this. If you read what Obasanjo said, beyond the news, but you read it as he said it. He tried to say that we have made a lot of progress in this country, that as a country, it's better we remain together. They now started tracing in that the first generation of Nigerians, that even if you have issues with them, they gave us independence from colonial rule. But they messed up and found themselves in the bowels of soldiers who took over. Then at the end of the day, After a lot of struggle, we went ahead, we took power from military rule. And we even took it further that a civilian administration handed over power to another civilian administration. That was one historic first for us in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Then we took it further in the last election, when a political party, a ruling party, lost an election and was handing over to an opposition party that won.
For the first
In
time.
Nigeria, is something that we can never forget.
Yeah.
But in his own thinking, he says that we can even take it further now, that by global trends now, youthful energy that we have in Nigeria, the youth can be galvanized to take over their country, that the politicians, I think, from what I've read, I don't think he has exonerated himself from some of the problems we have in the past, because he's been 100% involved in every phase of our life, especially when you took it from the first, after the first generation of politicians that provided independence. So good or bad, he's been into it all through. He's now saying that what we should do now, of course, it may sound, what did he want to gain? The day I will start holding Obasanjo to issues will be the time maybe he wants to be president again, or he wants his son, or he wants his... So what he's saying, we, the youth, may choose to believe what he's saying. We also have a right to disregard him.
Ishmael, let's spread the logic, expand the logic. The youth. Is the youth ready for leadership?
If our recent experience in the country is anything to go by, for one, I have stopped this campaign of generational power shift because, like I said, there are examples are bound to show clearly that performance or service delivery has nothing to do with age. I will start from our current example. I'm sure the Kogi State governor currently is the most youngest of all the governors. By age, I think it's about 41 or 42.
Yaya Bello.
Yaya Bello. And so that's a classical example of a youth. Will you, in honesty, say that what he's doing is a good example of how youth should behave in government?
No, I should be asking. I should be asking.
But before this dispensation, we had people who were younger than him.
Yes. We had
We had
Donald
much
Duke.
younger than him.
Exactly.
When
And
he
he
was
performed,
governor.
and he performed in office.
You see, as you have those who have performed, so also you have those who have done.
Fashola was
who
in
have
his
not
40s
done
when he took over Lagos.
Samuel Turaki, what age was he when he was
was
governor of
around
Jigawa
32.
State? But for
Samuel
the
Turaki.
8 years he spent in Jigawa State, find out
was a
from the
disaster,
people.
I know.
So, and if we also look at the global scene, Barack Obama was,
one of the youngest.
one of the youngest. He performed creditably well. But if you look at the U.S. History too, we have had presidents who are very old and who also performed very well.
Reagan.
You understand me? So for me, I don't believe age has anything to do with it. However, I agree with those who are canvassing for the younger people to take care. But you see, if you see the way the younger ones behave in this country, I tell you, it will be scaring to want to put our faith in their hands, because these are the same people who will go and meet those who say we want to sack, collect money from them, and begin to sing their praises. And you know the way politics is.
So
is
it's
played
a
in the third world.
mishmash.
Yeah, honestly. Well, if the project is for maybe beyond 2019, I see it feasible. But if it is for 2019, honestly speaking, I don't see the feasibility.
Jide, also, another thing he said is to say the outgone American president suggested strong institutions. Obasanjo is saying, I disagree with him, but you need strong institutions and strong men. But mine is, strong men in Africa have given us something not to cheer.
I think we have this fixation that if you put a strong man somewhere, then he's going to deliver and all that. It's the strong institutions that you really need. Because once you have strong institutions and the template is clear for everyone to see, you will have a succession of good leaders. In the Scandinavian countries, for example, they give you virtually everything you need, but you must pay tax. The punishment for manslaughter is not as grave as the punishment for tax evasion. And that's the way it is in many European countries. You know what will happen to you if you do this, if you do that. You can't even, the system is so foolproof that it's extremely difficult for you to circumvent it. So if someone gave us the EFCC, for example, and the EFCC is completely divorced from political influence, the EFCC would be able to fight corruption effectively in our country. That potentially can be a very strong institution. But in this case, the EFCC continues to be used by the executive. The EFCC is peopled by a lot of people who naturally should not work there, who are corrupt policemen who found themselves in the EFCC. They do not deserve to work there. So you see political interference and all that. These are the kind of things that weaken institutions. But we want institutions that Nigerians can rely on, whether it is Obasanjo is in power or Buhari or no. We've seen clearly now that the president, yes, he came in, we saw him as a strong man. But we can't say with all honesty that that strength of character has been demonstrated in every sphere of our national life. No, because even the strong man can, if he does not have the right people around him, so they can ensure that he does not succeed.
In this case, if you have a strong man in a weak institution,
it's zero. Because the institution should deliver even the right people. I'm telling you, when you look at a country like Botswana, they've created strong institutions. You can bet that for the next 20 years, if things remain the way they are, that country will continue to make progress.
I hear the economy of Botswana is up there.
Yeah, the same thing with Rwanda now. Yeah. Rwanda, they've learned valuable lessons from the problems that they had. Today, it is a crime to call yourself a Hutu or a Tutsi. You go to jail. You must call yourself a Rwandan.
Yes.
First and foremost.
Everyone has accepted that. And you can see there is peace, there is progress. The Rwanda economy is doing well. That country is going higher and higher. That is the way it should be.
This country had never been short of strong men. But getting them to bring something momentous to the table had been our bane. So Obasanjo calling for strong institutions and equally strong men to propel them appears to me a tall order, don't you think? I may be wrong.
I don't think so.
So that's why we even define strong men.
Who is a strong man?
Shouldn't we define
even by little standard, Buhari is a strong man. People know that when you say strength of character, people know. When he came on board, don't forget this issue of body language. You see it around people who have the strength of character.
Okay, aura.
But when he got there, what has the body language done for Nigerians? You know what, at the beginning months, you know what happened. You see, but we don't have the strong institutions. And unfortunately, nobody is doing anything.
So who builds these institutions, if not strong men?
Strong men build these strong institutions. But when you want to do it, for example, a strong man who wants to build strong institutions, first of all, you have to do a lot of reforms. For example, in the banking sector, in the judiciary, in the police, and on and on and. Then you do this without any sentiment to political,
with legal backing,
religious, ethnic, tribal. So of course, it's within the realm of, law. When all these things,
No, I mean legal backing so that it remains permanent.
You set the national template that this will be the irreducible minimum, everything. But we should see what goes on in our country. We said we are fighting corruption. We only go after people who have stolen money. We don't put structures in place to make it impossible for stealing.
Yeah.
That's the way to go if you want to build strong institutions. If you know there is no fraud in this country that you commit that will not involve the bank. Have you done anything about the banking sector? If you know what goes on within there, you will know we haven't done anything. We are not even ready.
In fact, former governor of the central bank, now traditional ruler, said if you went by the wayside Ishmael and saw a man with a slit throat lying in a pool of his blood, you couldn't say the man died. He was killed. He said, banks don't die, they are killed. So, no, it's all right. It's not to make you laugh, but you are seeing the picture.
I understand.
The message is clear.
So still talking about strong institutions, President Obasanjo is saying Nigeria is a disgrace to Africa. At a time, Africa looked up to us. Today we are playing catch up.
Well, I tend to disagree to some extent because it's not in every sphere of our life that we are playing catch up. For instance, I beg to say that the decision by Jonathan to concede defeat played a significant role within the continent to the extent that subsequent elections that were held in other countries almost took similar pattern. I mean, for me...
So that's setting a template.
Yeah, it's a template. So we may have...
That wasn't new in Africa. In Ghana, it's been done several times.
Okay.
Well, but for Nigeria, when we talk about Africa, we talk about
It gave us a good name.
when we talk about Africa...
It redeemed our bad
when we
image.
talk about Africa, we talk about
Maybe that's the way
Nigeria.
to
And
put it.
whatever we do, usually is being used as the yardstick to measure, other African countries. Now, I want to also say that we may not have done well in terms of providing political leadership. We may not have done well because the way politics, is played in our own climate here appears, different from, what happens in other areas. And the major challenge we have is that often our leaders put themselves into issues that ordinarily would have helped to define. How do I mean? When we were toying with the idea of amending the Electoral Act in 2012 or so, I was privileged to be among the team that went to Kenya to understudy how the electoral body, worked there. Do you know that to appoint the electoral body chair in Kenya, it's open to the people who send in application. And when you send in application, it's like an open debate for, the generality of people.
It's not necessarily by appointment.
Exactly,
Right,
yes,
yes,
to
yes.
examine you, So if you had done something before and maybe the government, somebody will call in and say, no, I know this man is a thief, this is what he has done here, this is what, And to that extent, I think that really helped, the Kenya electoral. But now, the team understood that and came with the same template. But in our usual characteristic manner, they will say, no, it cannot work here.
How can we forget what happened in Kenya when the Supreme Court made that historic pronouncement within a short time?
You understand? But here
we're still playing catch up.
Yes.
We play in many ways.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I said political leadership we may have done,
which is the main thing.
And it's a main thing.
Jide, former president also talked about education, and he said the disparity in education across geopolitical zones could create a monster more deadly than Boko Haram.
Yes, because whether we like it or not, if you look at Human Development Index across board, is a lot worse in the Northeast. I think even Sanusi was talking about that on a particular day when he was condemning Northern leaders.
Yeah.
He said, what is happening in the Northeast, whether it is school enrollment, any parameter by which you want to look at human development, in the Northeast, you see that the Northeast is way behind the other parts of the country. And now we have a situation in which endemic poverty has ensured that Boko Haram readily finds willing troops. I've spoken before about what happens in Adamawa State, in Madagali area, where Boko Haram was giving out loans to people. And then when you are unable to pay, they come for you and you get conscripted. You start fighting on their side. When I first heard that story in January 2016, on a visit to Adamawa State, I found it difficult to believe. But I spoke about it on this program, and the army, 3 months later, the Nigerian army announced that that thing was real. And they were now warning parents to tell their wards not to get involved with these people to the point that they will be offering them loans. This can only happen where the terrorists have seen clearly that poverty is a way of life.
And they
They are exploiting it.
exploiting.
They are exploiting it. The governor of Borno State said even old women who are so poor are sometimes used as armorers for Boko Haram. They will just give them a little money and they help them to keep their weapons in their huts and their villages. You know, sometimes too, because of this problem, Boko Haram gives people money in the communities and they give them information about troops movement and all that. That's why sometimes you see that when they want to attack, they do not make a mistake. If they want to attack a convoy of Nigerian troops, they will do it, they will be accurate about it, and then you see that we suffer fatalities. Just look at the example of the example of those guys that were killed, those oil workers.
Yeah.
And some of them were taken, were abducted. How did they know that they were going to pass through that route on the day?
Yeah.
And it wasn't as if the army was not prepared. They had gun trucks. No less than 8 gun trucks on that day accompanying these oil workers to the site. Somewhere in Magumeri local government. But they stormed, they knew they were coming. Somebody had given information which the terrorists are prepared to pay for. So the poverty, someone was telling me that he knows people in the Northeast who had never owned 1,000 naira in their lives. Owned 1,000 naira in their lives. So our people are going through a lot. We must, Obasanjo was talking about the fact that the North, only about 30% of the people in the North have education. Yes, they may, Western education, he meant to say. It is a big problem. The governor of Borno State, as the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, has said it repeatedly that we must do something to improve the quality and quantity of education.
Including incentivizing the idea of going to school.
I think that if you look at that man, the governor of Borno State, despite the problems, he's concentrating on the girl child education.
Yeah.
He's doing that a lot better than many of the other governors.
Quickly, but you have something, but I was going to raise this. Since 1999, don't let me go back before then, no government at the center and at the state had devoted 26% of the national budget to education. And so when former President Obasanjo is saying this now,
we have asked how much.
So it's part of it. How do you start that now?
Please, let's be very, very honest with ourselves. When you look at education, it's on the concurrent list. This issue is better. Look at countries where education works very, very, very well. It's better handled by the state, not the federal government. I've traveled to many parts of the north. I always leave the place with sadness. Why? Go to everywhere. You see children of school age. During school time, they are not in school. If you go from the south here, you go to any part of the north, you will be worried, except you don't love your country. That why do you see hundreds and hundreds of children not going to school? This is something that we need to start talking, we should start talking about it, because if you believe that the government at the federal level can change this, it is not possible. Believe me, look at what is happening in Lagos State. Just remove Akinwumi Ambode from the equation. You can never see anything the federal government has done in Lagos State. Or have you seen anything? But a lot is happening in Lagos. It's because the states are better placed to solve most of our developmental challenges.
But I hope it helps here, but you do have a federal Ministry of Education. Consider that.
What is the percentage of the budget that goes into that?
But let me take quickly Additional here in Lagos. Please feel welcome. Thank you for waiting.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
Good evening, Sarabajide and the guests in the studio.
They greet you.
They greet you, thanks.
The topic you are discussing currently about the popular movement of the ex-president, he mentioned. I want to let us know that when the opposition took power from the ruling party, just like one of your guests said, it was a surprising thing for the whole nation, and that we know how the coming together of the APC to make a strong party so that they can take power. But I want us to know that Nigeria is still a country to reckon with all over the world, globally. I want us to know that the country is not in lack of strong men or good leaders. But the problem we will continue to always have is how to those good leaders get to resolve. But by and large, I want us to know that the current president, the issue of Gambia, it should have taken the lead. And that is why you can see Gambia restore quickly. The democracy was restored. They know Nigeria is a country to reckon with. And that they know us for what we can do, even in the ECOWAS country. But more so, if not that we are having problems of killing of the herdsmen and farmers problems, the anti-corruption crusade that the government party, it is mind-boggling to know for me as an individual the money that has been stealing away from this country in the past. And if only we can sustain those gains and improve in other areas, we will get there.
Thank you, Additional.
Whether we have 4 years of this government to run, but how can we now make sure that all those areas...
Thank you, Additional. Ishmael, there are many quotations about leadership, but some of them, one particular one that comes to mind is one credited to Alexander the Great. He said, and I hope you believe this, an army of sheep led by a lion is more formidable than an army of lions led by sheep. So we are talking about the leadership question in Nigeria, near Africa, because we must pass over now.
Of course. You see, the truth is we have all agreed that we have leadership problem in Nigeria. And I think that was fundamentally one of the reasons why the movement to sack Jonathan in 2015 was successful. Because for one, I supported Jonathan in 2011 for 2 reasons. One, I saw him as a graduate, and I felt that going by our history, we have never had somebody who has read up to that level to lead us. And I felt
a teacher.
It was going to be, that. Now, again, his age was also, a factor.
On his side, yeah.
But unfortunately, those 2 things, I didn't see the man bring them to bear as the president. And so that was why when there was this move to send him packing, it was over. So until we get that leadership right, we are not likely to make headway. But Nigerians too must be prepared to eschew tribalism, ethnicity, and religious biases in getting the right leadership.
All right, the debate must continue. Again, please note, management talks about doing things right. Leadership talks about doing the right things. I guess we have a choice here. Let's take this break. We'll be back. Okay then, welcome back. Benue on my mind. Benue State Governor Samuel Ortom is a totally exasperated man as we speak. Dismayed by the unending killings across the state, the governor charges people to defend themselves because according to him, the IG, Ibrahim Idris, who should enforce security and safety of the people, was playing politics with the unending killings in the state. He was on radio, a most potent medium. Jide, you've heard this. The medium is the message.
Yes.
So taking to radio,
The medium.
the message, the medium is the message.
Yes.
Went on live radio.
You see, it's, just as you said, it's an exasperated man at this time, because even the battle was taken to his own farmhouse. The herdsmen went to his farmhouse, sacked the place, and I think two individuals were killed. And there were attacks on 2 other communities in the area. You know, that Guma and Lago had been targeted by herdsmen since 2012.
Oh, it's a long time coming.
Yes, no, that's why when I read people like the Minister of Defense saying that these attacks were caused by the anti-grazing law, I have a documentary that I got Doshima Abu to do here. In 2014, you see police stations set ablaze before communities will be attacked, and farm produce will be fed to cattle. I have documentary.
Yeah, so
That was 2014.
We are talking about a coordinated...
Yes, these are attacks well planned. I have footage of the former governor of Benue State, Sutwam. He wanted to, in 2000 and, I think 2000 and, 2012. 2012. He wanted to visit a scene of an attack by herdsmen. But along the way, they were firing at the governor and his convoy. They had to beat a retreat. I was in Benue when it happened. So for anyone to say, oh, the laws set up by these 2 governors, Taraba and Benue, caused these killings, that person must have an acute lack of a sense of history, because these killings had been taking place. There was no law when people were being killed in Idoma land. Agatu. Yes. There was no anti-open grazing law, but so many people were killed. So it doesn't help our case when we see the truth and refuse to say it. Now the worst thing is the fact that retaliation is taking place. By the time our government confronts this issue frontally, even the citizens will see clearly that the government is not prepared to brook nonsense over this matter. I read that Burate, the Chief of Army Staff, is sending troops to those states now. Good idea, but those troops must be patriotic. They must not take sides. I don't expect them to take sides. If they are patriotic, we will solve this problem. Because everyone will know now that, yes, you have no right to kill a fellow Nigerian. It's embarrassing the way we are killing ourselves, and the whole world is watching. In the 21st century, we are doing this. So these killings has to stop. An attack by the IG on the governor, and the governor too, attacking the IG, I think is irresponsible. This is not what Nigerians want, because these are leaders. If they are exchanging brickbats the way they are doing, what do they expect the people to do? And we are saying that we are finding it difficult to unite our people. You see the governor abusing the IG in this way, even a PPRO a police PRO,
Force
PRO,
yeah.
to calling the governor a drowning man. I think for once the House of Reps impressed me because they asked for an apology from the IG for the statement that the Force PRO made.
Kule, and the governor's charge is specific. Defend yourself lawfully. Sorry, yeah. I thought we were on the same page.
It's wondering how that can be done lawfully.
If you have followed this crisis very well, at a point, some of us were criticizing the governor that was too weak, was this, was that. Maybe he was trying to say, oh, I'm a party man, I shouldn't be.
He was always running to the vice president.
Yes.
And even to
He
now,
was trying to say,
help
I'm
me
a
with
party
them, kill my
man,
people again.
APC, but when he didn't seem to find succor, he now realized that he had to show his true stuff. But if I were the president of Nigeria, believe me, I would do a rejig of the security, leadership. Believe me. An IG of this one, I'm sorry. If you went,
This is not passing moral judgment.
okay, but if you want, you need to follow the discussions. What TV yesterday? A police spokesperson, national spokesperson of the police institution, couldn't go on TV without the permission of his boss.
Yeah.
And whatever you say is being seen as the utterances of the boss. You don't have any right to be insulting an elected authority.
Accuses the police of planting weapons on people, take their pictures and claim they are Benue livestock guards. That's still the police. You expect the governor to be speaking from an informed source.
I think in that regard,
premise.
I don't know where the governor got that information from. I think it was the army that actually arrested the purported livestock guards. It wasn't the police. Now, you see, one of the fundamental problems we have in this country is that most times we find it difficult to separate politics from national issues. And most times we mix ethnicity and religion with issues.
It's true.
When on Wednesday,
do many people even know that many Fulanis are animists? They assume that any Fulani man they see,
some of them
they assume that it's a Muslim.
And it's not
this
correct.
is pure
We
ignorance.
have Fulani men who are Christians.
Animists.
Now, as I was saying, on Wednesday, last week Wednesday, there was an attack in Boko that led to the killing of seven travelers.
Yeah.
Now, those travelers were Fulani men. Now, by the next day, most of the reports that were carried in the newspaper did not mention the identity of those that were killed. They just said 7 people were killed. Now, ordinarily, the governor, from what I gathered, it was the government who moved him and tried to, knowing the implication of even revealing the identity of those who died.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand very clearly that it was the government who moved him to talk to our colleagues to downplay that. I have no quarrel with that. But if it happened the other way, why will you insist that because sometimes when we report the identities of those attacks, it worsens situation.
Like even this case, this case that you are talking about.
That's the truth about
the communities in Taraba State that were attacked were thief communities. So you want to think that this was a reprisal for the
You understand what I'm saying? Now, the president now said, okay, army should deploy soldiers there. You need to read the commentaries on the social media. Some were of the view that, okay, because they have killed Fulani men, that is why they are sending soldiers. But I tell some of my friends, I said, look, are you not looking at it from the angle of trying to prevent a total breakdown of law and order? Because if the government does not move in swiftly, and you allow everybody to himself, certainly it will lead to a breakdown of law and order. And it is the beginning, we all know. Nobody knows the end. Because it has gone to the extent of travelers being waylaid on the road. The same thing that happened on Kaduna-Akwanga Road at some point, and Kaduna-Jos Road. To the extent that I recall when my family, when we were staying in Kaduna, each time we were traveling, we removed the copy of the Quran in the vehicle, we removed the praying mat, you know, anytime we are going to just to make sure that we are safe. And it has come to that
Thank
again.
God for you, you went to a mission school. So you can recite verses of the Bible.
You understand? It has come to that. And so the president, I appreciate what the president said yesterday in Nasarawa.
Yeah.
I want to plead with him to match those words with action.
Yeah.
If I were the president, IGP would have since gone. The Minister of Defense would have since gone.
The Minister of Defense does not even know how to talk.
Because the truth is that whatever these people say, you know, like for the police to be calling the governor a drowning man is just playing into the hands of those who are already accusing the government of perpetrating the killing.
Yes, who don't even want this thing to end.
You understand? Because if a spokesman of an IGP will come out to say this, and that further goes to confirm some of the information I had, because I understand that when the governor of Borno State, who is the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, when he led that team to Benue State, that some persons at the presidency were angry with him that why did he go there? And he was said to have challenged them, look, are you saying that these people are no longer part of us? You know, so sometimes when you see some of these people behave when they act, honestly speaking, they inadvertently give reason to some of the speculations around, and it's not good for the government, it's not good for our country.
Judy, the second leg of this topic has to do with Senator Shehu Sani, who has called on the president to step in. I'm looking at the National Assembly and what they call a resolution. Am I using the right word now?
No, what Shehu Sani was actually referring to Birnin Gwari in Kaduna. You see, Birnin Gwari looks like the headquarters of cattle rustling. They've killed too many people in Birnin Gwari. As far back as maybe like 5-6 years ago, they will come on market day. Even the police station there, the first thing they do, they first sack the police station, set it ablaze. There's a forest through which they come, all the way from Niger Republic. They will come and steal cattle here. And they are so wicked that even stealing
professional rustlers.
Yes. The same thing they do, and they are more wicked than
They do it in Zamfara and Katsina.
In Zamfara and Katsina, areas like Faskari and Katsina, they come to kill people and take away cattle. And they are more wicked than Boko Haram, in the sense that you will be the one to load your own cattle into their trucks. We have a documentary on that eventually even won an award. You load, you carry your cattle load into their trucks. And on market days, they'll go. They can kill 125 people in one day.
Unchallenged.
Yes. And when they do it, when they come to kill our people and steal cattle, especially on market days. Oh, there was one incident happening in Zamfara. The people counter-attacked them. So on the day they chose to come back, they killed more than 126 people.
Destroyed the entire community.
And on a market day, they will take the cattle and escape. We've not been able to solve this problem. So Birnin Gwari, you know, that's why Shehu Sani was saying, look, these bandits who come into our country to just kill our people, the president must do something about these people. And I think, generally speaking, the militia too, those who are paid to kill our people, he was also referring to them, because we've seen clearly now that when herdsmen and farmers have an issue, they engage the militia.
A totally different set of people will come.
Yes, they'll come and kill people, and then they go away. So it's not the average herdsman does not have assault weapons, but there's a fighting group that at the snap of their fingers, they can tell them to
Tell
come.
them to come
And,
and
oh,
they
these
move
people, they killed our people somewhere. You saw what happened in Plateau when they killed that little our people somewhere. You saw what happened in Plateau when they killed that little Fulani boy.
Yeah, yeah.
In no time, that was revenge. And it's the same thing happening now in Taraba State. The killing of Fulani people in Mambila, the revenge. The only problem why the Fulani appear to always be in the news is the frequency
Of
the
their own,
killing.
Yeah.
You know, other people can kill Fulani, kill 100 Fulani at once. They will carry the story 1 or 2 times, that's all. But the revenge, they can launch up to 15 attacks.
Because of one just killing.
Because of that attack. Because even the attacks on Norman have not stopped as we
it
speak.
doesn't.
They are the day you withdraw soldiers and policemen from Norman, they will be back.
They will be back.
The people can shoot at Air Force aircraft. So this is the thing. So the frequency of those stories is the reason some people, misguided people, think, oh, the media is biased.
Yeah, as if the media produces
No.
anything but reports. Kuli, it's this. The idea is not to make you laugh. We appear to be living in Orwellian times. But you cannot but talk about our porous border crossings. It's always at issue. Something needs to be done once and for all time.
When you look at the borders of Nigeria, you start from the north. People cross easily from Adamawa to Cameroon. If you go to other places,
But not to
you see like this. If you move to Madrid, go to the other state, you see there are so many villages that they don't even know whether they are in Nigeria.
No, there's no demarcation there.
They don't know whether they are in Nigeria or they are in Cameroon. So the security architecture of Nigeria, the authorities, we need to do something about it. Of course, you may say, of course, people who are here, they speak the same language, they have the same God, the same religion, the same
markets.
But when it comes to nationhood and security implications of that, we are reaping the results now of not doing something when we are supposed to have done something. It's been on since in the 70s, 80s. I remember under Shagari, these issues were there that we had porous borders. What do we do about
more than
it?
1,400.
But we are not the only country suffering it. But in our own case, it's worse.
All right, let me quickly take Jibrin is in Kwara. Jibrin, welcome. Are we in business?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Hello.
Go on, sir.
Please, I'm interested in this your discussion.
Go on.
For concerning about education in the north, yes, it's just the unfortunate thing about education in the north. It was Arab that brought Arabic education initially. That is why they are so conservative with Arabic education, because Western education didn't come earlier. As Western education came from south, Arab education came from north, from North Africa, and that is why they are so interested in that particular education. But early 60s, as they wanted to come to Western education, already they have sent their children to Arabic schools. And that is why it was a little bit difficult for them to catch Western education on time. Thank you, sir.
Many thanks. But yeah, even though you are taking us a little back, I think the point, at a time like this, you couldn't say a logic like that is once too many. Education key in all of these things, you know. So reordering our education, the curriculum, you know, it's, I never knew
You already said that it has to be be made attractive.
Yes,
And I think
incentivize.
yes, that was the word.
When everybody introduced feeding, the school enrollment skyrocketed. I think yes, it's been stopped now. But
Yes.
the students, they will go there and eat, and after the meal, they run back to their house.
I think even Sule Lamido did something in Jigawa State. He introduced boarding facilities from primary school level. You will never see during his time a little boy on the road, maybe selling. You won't even find a single beggar on the street because he took all the beggars away and was paying them stipend every month. These people are not difficult to please. As for the students, for pupils, you have primary school, you have boarding facility where you will be fed throughout the day. But if any parent failed to enroll his child in school, that parent will go to jail. So he made that clear, and it also helped the school enrollment. I don't know if they have stopped it now.
Believe me, that can change the entire north.
Yes.
Permanently.
Talking about...
And if they also improve the quality of instruction.
Yes, if it is introduced across all the states in the north, that will change.
But there must be a will to do it.
Yes, there must be a will, and once there is a will, there is a way. Talking about this incentivizing education, you know, I just came back from Borno State on Monday morning, and when I saw some of the structures, the man, he called it a mega school, and from my findings, is what the governor is trying to do is to make private primary school unattractive to
boost public
school.
private, yeah.
And how is he doing it? He wants to ensure that there is air condition in the classrooms.
So you lose nothing.
You lose nothing. You lose nothing.
Gain a lot.
And you gain a lot. Now, already, you know, in Borno State, presently, they have about 500,000 orphans. Most of them as a result of Boko Haram crisis. Now, the governor is trying to take about 100,000 in April, when the school is, is supposed to resume, by April. Now, the problem we have with some of our leaders is that they will identify problem.
As you say so, you are closing your thoughts. Yeah.
They will identify problem, but taking action, being proactive to solve that problem is usually...
Please untie it, tie it from where we come, where we started.
From 2000, we have been holding educational conferences.
Tie it to where we started from. Obasanjo, Nigeria leadership in Africa, and so on.
Well, I think to close, I will call on Nigerians that we must not wait for an Obasanjo to show us the way. We all know the problem, and the earlier we identify the problem, the better for us. And how can we make progress? We can only make progress when we see things as a Nigerian, not as a Yoruba man, or an Hausa man, or an Igbo man, or as a Muslim, or as a Christian.
How do you close, my brother?
I believe all that is said. Let's remove ethnicity, tribalism, and religious, biases. Most of what we call challenges in Nigeria are just little things that we can solve overnight.
If we wish to.
If we remove all these issues I just talked about.
Yes. Let's, as Nigerians, stop unnecessarily suspecting one another, because the mutual suspicion is what really bothers me.
And
we must
distrust
agree.
And mistrust.
Mistrust and distrust. We must agree to live as one. God has created us and put us here. It has pleased him to do that. Then we must now live as one. When we make up our minds to live as one people who believe in one God, these killings will stop. Even the leaders will have so little to do.
All right, then, that will just about do it for today, but I leave you with this parting shot. Leadership is not about the next election, for instance, next year. It is more about building a national consensus, and we can do it, beginning from this room now. That's all on Journalists Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11, but quickly, let me say thank you to Babajide Kolade-otitoju for coming. Adekunle Yusuf, many thanks for your time. Not forgetting Ishmael Omikbi Don. I got it. So now you can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye for now and bless you.